How you guys doing? Haven't you heard some good stuff? It's been some really great nuggets, and I've got some stuff that's going to be repeating some of that. Don't look for your notes in that book from me because I didn't submit any. Rebellion, Pastor Morris calls it. But this is my wife and I's 24th Summer Victory Conference. I still feel like a bit of a rookie. This is our 24th year. When I look out at this room, I'm just totally amazed how many good friends I have in here and family members. Some of you I know very well, some of you I know fairly well, and some of you I'm going to get to know. But one thing I know for sure is this is our family. Can you say amen? We have family around the world. I remember a few years ago, I went out as eye candy with my wife when she was doing a women's conference in Moncton. And I had one of the best holidays I think you can have. Pastor Steve drove me all around and showed me stuff that only people that lived there would have ever seen. And I got to see a side. I'd never been to the East Coast, or the Far East as I call it. Ontario's the Middle East for those of you from there. And you can only do that with family. The same thing is true in Kenya, different places, Thailand, all over where we've been. It's awesome. And, on the way, we were out in BC yesterday and doing a little bit of a holiday before the conference. And on the way back, I bought this old motorhome because that's part of what I want to do. And you can ridicule that if you want, but I don't care. I'm 60 years old, and I don't care what you think. So... But I'm listening to the radio, and they were talking on some talk show. It was the only channel I could get somewhere deep in the mountains. And they were talking about Ancestrycom and this different things, how you can send your DNA. And all kinds of people are finding, especially adopted kids, they send in their DNA, and they can match it up, and they can tie you in with your family of origin. And I could relate, just sitting here today, I could relate to that because we were Spirit-filled Presbyterians. How many of you know that doesn't work? And we were like orphans out there. We didn't know where we fit. And then 24 years ago, we came to a Victory Conference. I think you guys were at the same one, Lawrence and Brenda. And it was like we found our family. Where have these guys been hiding all this time? And so I look at you, and I'm filled with love and joy and friendship and rich relationships. And I hope you like me because we're going to know each other for a long time. But I've been given, we said we were handing out topics, and I've been given the topic, Vision for a Large City Church. And I'm not sure which way to go with that. Is that a large city church or a large city church? I don't know which way to go with that. And I don't feel really capable or trained to do either one. I come from the city of Prince Albert and originally, and I've pastored in Moose Jaw, which was about 35,000 people. That's not a large city. Then we moved to Regina, which I think would be a medium city. It's about 240,000. And I've had medium-sized churches in both. And so I don't know why I'm doing this topic. But I do know about vision, and I do know about family, and I do know about building. And so I want to talk to you about building a larger church in a community, and I think that can fit into everybody's life wherever we're called to grow. We're Victory people, and growth is not an option, and a vision to grow is not an option either. We took a 16-month-old church. It was 16 months old, Moose Jaw, when we came in, and it was in this little corner store, and we thought it was a great church. It was awesome, but it was really pretty small at that time. And I don't know if you've heard the expression fruits, nuts, and flakes. We had them all, and we worked with that. We worked with what we were given, and I want to. There's been so many good nuggets thrown out here. Pastor Dan, great teaching as always. Pastor Hazel, I promised to try not to talk about urinals for the rest of the afternoon. But it's been a fun afternoon. And I want to encourage you as pastors to reach out to the ones, be humble enough to reach out to the ones that are doing what you want to do. And when you do what Pastor Hazel said, don't phone and tell them all about you. Find out about them. How did you do that? What did you do? Ask some good questions and then listen. I've been a regional overseer for a long time. And that's one of the most frustrating things. You go into a situation, Pastor Dan, and you know some of the things that they could do to fix things, and they don't even ask. And to me, when they don't ask, I think they really don't want to know. So I want to encourage you in that area. We took that 16-month-old church, and man, we tore Moose Jaw up in a storm. It was in a desperate situation. Jeff, you were part of that. We came up with the slogan, the center of the universe, because the biggest ambition in Moose Jaw was to get out of that city. And we thought we need to change the confession of people and change. And we fell in love with Moose Jaw. And it's funny, I go back there now, that love is gone because it was from God. And I'm not dissing the city. The city was... And I've hated Regina all my life. I'm from northern Saskatchewan. I love Regina, and I thank God for the love He gives you for the place that you're in. And He gives you a vision for that place, whatever the size. We tried over and over when we were in Moose Jaw. And Moose Jaw, Pastor Dan and Mariana have done we are just so blessed with what they've done with that church. And, yeah, God gave me a vision a long time ago that church needed to go to 1,000 people, and I thought we'd be part of that, and we were, but we're not going to bring that to completion. It's God's church, and He's brought the right people to take that forward, and we get to be players in that. It's awesome. Anyway, we had a vision to get into Regina. We tried several times, again and again, to get into the city, and several times it didn't work, and now, it's funny what a little time and continued pressure and continued effort. Now we have 3 churches in Regina, and our district is one of the largest in the country. It's spread in all kinds of directions. I think we might get a church in Moosomin soon. I'm believing God. And things are just spreading. And when I've never been part of a church of thousands in a massive city, but I am part of one because it's going to happen in Regina, whether I'm at the helm when that happens or not. But I know Jesus said He would build His church, and some sow and some water, but ultimately it's God that gives the increase. But we have to be faithful at the time and the season that we're in the church that we're in, to take it from where it is to where God is taking it to. Amen. Maybe this is why I didn't make out notes, because none of this, I'm trying to look down and see where I am, but it's just not there. So when we talk about transitioning our church, I'll try to get out, Jesus help me. You've heard about this, we're in all different stages and levels of maturity in churches, and lots of very mature leaders here. You've heard about small church mentalities, medium church mentalities, large and mega. There's a different culture. Pastor Kelly taught about that very well a few years ago. I still remember. I'm not going to go into all of that, but there's a shift in your thinking that needs to take place before the shift in the church can take place. And if you're content with where you're at, you are going to get used to it, because that's exactly where you're going to stay. You have to get discontent with where things are at and start to build for where things are going to be. And I always try to do this. What's the structure look like for a church that's double the size of ours. That's the structure I'm trying to build all the time. You're trying to erect that structure. And as you get that structure, it's like getting, like Pastor Dan was saying, getting the capacity enlarged, because if you can't retain it, you're not going to keep it. And so to build something growing, you have to be revisiting your structures, revisiting your ministries, revisiting your programs. Is this meeting our what we're trying to do? And there needs to be that constant grind. And as the senior leader, you're stuck in the middle of that all the time. And really that discontent is from God, because it's what drives you on. You're constantly be driven on to build more and more because you've read your Bible. And you know that the church is supposed to grow. Anyway, what's the vision for a large city church or a city large church? Or I don't know. I know what our vision is. It's reach, teach, and mobilize. Can we say that together? Reach, teach, and mobilize. I do that quite often in our church. We try to ingrain it in their thinking. Someone said here that it was from the book of Acts. I say it's from Matthew chapter 28. You can say wherever you want it's from. It's from Jesus. He wants us to reach as many people as we can, and you know the shtick, right? I don't need to go through it, but we have a vision, and so we're always going back in our programs. Are we reaching people with this program and with it? If we're not, why am I doing it? Are we teaching people in the Word? If not, why am I running that program? Are we raising up more and more leaders? So anyway, that's kind of what I got to kind of roll here. My wife's timing me. She's good. She does that for me. Thinking back at some past... some of the past conferences we had a few years ago, the slogan or the theme was do it bigger, do it better, and I think do it together. The grammar wasn't that great, but the idea was really good. Do it bigger and do it better. Do it big, do it good. I always thought it should be do it well, but we've had this talk, yeah. So I want to kind of follow that. Do it bigger. Say bigger. If you're going to go, and I've seen this in different places as I've gone to some of our smaller churches, and it's like it's a one-man show. If you're going to go into a city and plant a church where you greet the people, you lead the worship, you take up the offering, you do the announcements, you preach the sermon, you do the benediction, you pray for the sick, and you release them, a newcomer coming in is going to think there's no room for anybody. Are you guys okay? Don't be a one-man show. Also, let's stretch that out past Sunday. Do you have to teach every Bible study, lead every prayer meeting, be at every function, do every visitation, make every phone call? If you do, get used to small church, because that's all you will ever have. We are called to gather and raise leaders, and it makes life more gooder. It's late in the day. We need to gather and release others. And I put an underline in my notes under release. Recruit and release ministry responsibilities. I have seen pastors that will recruit leaders, then they hover over them and change everything that they did and do it their way. You will demoralize the people that you're instructing. Dr. George has come up with so many good sayings over the years, and I can't even remember where you say it. My wife quotes you on it. If it's worth doing poorly until you can do it better, gooder. Do it well. This is where well works. So you get... I'm in trouble. You have to raise up and release, and they're not going to do it the same way you are. They're not. Can you imagine Jesus all the investment he had in those guys and these bumbling fishermen and tax collectors, and he left? Do you think they did everything the way he would have done it? No, but that's part of our growing process, and that's part of the leadership development. And you can cut a lot of corners on that by phoning other leaders and getting wisdom and finding out what you shouldn't do. And, I can remember at one time Pastor Hazel said, well, you could do that, but we did it, and it didn't work very well. Or maybe that was Dr. Drew. It didn't work at all, but go ahead, Well, I steered clear of that, because why would I want to do that thing that didn't work for them? Am I better than them? No. So we want to learn, and so you want to raise up leaders, but you've got to release them. And now as you're a released leader, you should be looking for wisdom from wherever you can get it and drawing that into what you're doing. But that's so foundational in the discipleship process of raising up leaders and creating a culture where there's teams being built. And we're always on our people. Our people in Regina, when we went there, we took over a church that had just split. That was a joy that I probably wouldn't have done had I known. I thought we'll have this thing whipped into shape and it'll be running just like Moose Jaw by Christmas is what I thought. 5 years. I couldn't get anybody to invite anybody to church because they didn't know whether they were coming back. Right? It's not as easy as it seems, but you get that worked up, and then I don't want you just running the ushering ministry. I want you to build the best team of ushers that you can. I want you to inspire them. I want you to meet with them. I want you to coach them. I want you to cast vision to them. And as you build into that leader, and then they start to catch on, and then they start to reproduce themselves, and it just creates a snowball, and the church starts to grow. And there's Dr. Hazel and George taught us, I don't know which one of you, flow charts. I don't know if you use flow charts. That's a powerful tool to get a vision for a bigger church. Draw in a men's ministry. We don't have one. We'll draw a box in there and pray somebody into that box. Well, not literally into the box. You know what I mean. Raise up leaders, build teams. You'll be able to accomplish much more. And then you can do Ephesians 4:16, from whom the whole body joined and knit together by what every joint supplies according to the effective working by which every part does its share. We've got to try to get everybody functioning in the church. And as we raise up leaders who build departments, whether it's ushers, greeters, coffee team, every ministry is an opportunity to build a team and train leaders. And if you're going to do it all yourself, And then I've got in here, get a vision that goes beyond your neighborhood. There's if you flyer your neighborhood, and all that stuff is good, knocking on doors and all that stuff, but if you're going to build a larger church, you got to lift your eyes higher than just the people on your block. You got to advertise different, you got to think different, you got to dress different, you got to talk different, or gooder. Step up your advertising. Do it bigger. Websites and social media are the way. I don't like them, but the reality doesn't care what I like, as Ben Shapiro would say. It doesn't matter. Facts don't care about my feelings. Websites is how people find things today. They look. So you better have a smoking hot website, and you better be able to be found. If you can't be found, you might as well not be there. And that's a whole other topic. Newspapers, phone book ads. It's not going to work in the city. It won't even work in most towns anymore. People are on their phones. Embrace the change. Just get used to texting, and now we got Messenger and Facebook. Stop it! But you have to. I got to go through all. Yes, somebody. Well, I sent you a Facebook message 2 weeks ago. Embrace the internet. And I've taught from this very spot about the church, real estate, location, What are the three rules? Location, location, location. Well, we're in an experiment in our church in Regina right now. I've come to embrace the change to think people don't find us because they drive by, or very seldom, although we own 10 acres on the Trans-Canada Highway, that maybe for the next guy or the guy after him in this living lineage that is the church, at some time there will be a massive presence in Regina right at the entrance to the city. I hope it's in my time, but I'm building towards it anyway because I want that visibility. But I found out I can have visibility on the internet. And we bought an old beer hall in a light industrial area that nobody drives by on a Wednesday evening. And people are coming anyway because we have visibility on the internet. So embrace the internet. And if you can get the physical location, internet location, all of that working for you, go for it all. Another thing about, how much? 8 minutes. Deliver on what you advertise. Don't advertise. You're thinking in the city, don't advertise we have the best children's ministry in town, and it's Martha who I don't know, I won't say a name, but if you don't have the best children's ministry in town, do not advertise that you do. Don't say we've got smoke and worship if you're playing videos. Now, there's nothing wrong with starting out with videos if that's what you've got, but don't advertise we got the best. Advertise what you have. Maybe it's just a family or a vision or whatever it is, but advertise. We did something a few years ago. We canvassed. We're trying to increase our input. And so I thought, well, why are people, we were in a surge in the church. It almost doubled in those years. And so we canvassed them. Why did you come? And why did you stay? And the why did you stay department I'm going to talk about. Sound doctrine, great worship, and a sense of family. That might not be what you hear in your church. But we thought these are our strong suits, so we started advertising strong doctrine, great worship, and a sense of family. We thought we want to advertise. Have you ever gone in and there's a sale and a certain stereo is on for $99 and it's normally $1,500 and you walk in, oh sorry, there was one and it's gone. Man, you'll never go back in that place again. And if you're advertising something you don't have, they'll never come back. We hate false advertising. Okay, do things bigger. Do things better. Say better. Say gooder. In a small church, your worship can be kind of mediocre, let's be honest. You can have little Susie that can barely hold a tune, singing there and everybody loves it and they're worshiping God and tears are coming down their face. Because there's a lot of horizontal relationships. Everybody knows everybody. You move into a bigger setting, bigger environment, people want to connect with God. They don't know little Susie. They don't care that she's in her first year of piano lessons. They want to worship God. And little Susie or Aunt Gerda can be the worst thing that happened to work. You understand it? So as you're going to grow bigger, you gotta up your standards in whether it's worship or expectations are higher. As you go into a larger city, a larger environment, you want to build a larger church, expectations go up exponentially. And you know, you've heard this, 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, the Lord does not see as man sees, for man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Hopefully the Lord's already in your church. You're trying to attract men and women who may or may not even be saved. You better put on a good production. Start on time. Put a countdown up. Not because you're legalistic, but because if you waste 5 minutes, 19 seconds. If you waste their time, you're wasting a multiplicity of time, and people are busy, especially as the cities get bigger. They're not less busy, they're more busy. Driving's longer, the restaurants are fuller. You got to respect their time. Expectations go up, and you're competing. And that, every area of your facilities, your music, your ministries need to go up. And Pastor Dan gave a definition of excellence there. I thought was good. I have my own. Excellence is not perfection. It's doing the best that you can with what you have. Dress it up as well as you can. It's the building. It's a rented building. Clean it. If they didn't clean it, you clean it. If they don't decorate it, you come in and decorate it. Do the best that you can with what you're given, and people will sense that sense of excellence. Facilities, and if you get your own facilities, they've got to be clean, well-maintained. Again, not perfection, but excellence. And Saskatoon's just done a job of ripping theirs apart and rebuilding it. It's awesome. I've seen pictures. I've yet to see it. I don't know if I want to. Even how you dress is important. I grew up, you couldn't wear jeans to church. I thought the flames of hell would come up and burn you up. I don't know why. The jeans cost more than the dress pants, but you can't wear them. I preached in suits for I don't know how many years. It took them a long time to pry those suits off, and I wear jeans, and I feel like I'm going to the show. But we're trying to attract men and women. I think you can still dress nice. You can still dress sharp. You can still be culturally. You don't need to wear rags. They should be clean. Your shoes should not be flopping in the wind. I still don't like. It should be appropriate. And maybe someday we'll get suits again. Maybe not. I don't know. What's that? It should be a good suit, yeah. So let's not go that down there. Brush your teeth. Comb your hair. Okay, we'll leave that section out. Create a family atmosphere in a larger center. People are craving relationship and craving. And there's people everywhere, and people are alone. People are committing suicide, doing drugs, doing all kinds of things because there's a desperate sense of loneliness. The bigger the center, the more the loneliness. So create a sense of family. We have a couple rules of 10 that I work with my leaders all the time. Some of you, you may have heard the 10-foot rule. Have you heard that? If somebody comes within 10 feet of you, just say hi. Don't ask them for their credit card number or where they work or how much money they make or what kind of car. Just say hello, recognize them as a person, and you're welcome. Not just the greeters and the ushers. That can be so sterile. You go by the greeters and the ushers, and then nobody in the place will say hi to you. We teach all our people to just say hi. Don't ask them for their where they go to the urinal. Oh, I did it. And here's another rule of 10 that I liked. The 10-minute rule. And we just taught this to our leaders at our last leadership meeting. The 10-minute rule is, for 10 minutes after the close of the service, you're not allowed to talk to any of your friends. For 10 minutes at the end of your service, you're not allowed to talk to any of your close friends. Find somebody new, somebody you don't know, somebody different. Make connections, build that sense of family. The people that you do know that are plugged into the church will be there for a half an hour. You know that. And the visitors are gone in 3 minutes. Take that little bit of time to make that connection. People want to feel connected. Create small groups, home groups, discipleship groups, ministry service groups. Create groups. Have teachings in the groups. It's part of our budget to supply food if we have to, or let it be potlucks or pot blessings. 39 seconds. I got to go. Create fellowship opportunities, especially in the city. We have bonfires every Sunday night in the summer. They start out really strong with 50, 75, 100 people, and they get weaker. But at least you're giving them some opportunity to get together and fellowship. It works great with the new people. Barbecues, family days. Here's another tip. Serve really good coffee. It doesn't cost. Costco's got really good coffee in big cans. And don't make it so weak it's terrible. Put out real cream. It's a coffee drinking world. It doesn't cost much, and people will hang around and make connections and build families and get invited to groups. And I'm 10 seconds over, and so I think I'm doing pretty good. In conclusion, we have our jobs to do. And we must strive to do them as well as we can, as gooder as we can. Ultimately, it's up to God to bring the increase. But it does, the passage that we like to quote, some sow, some water, Apollos sowed. I wrote it down. I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. But you notice God gave the increase where Paul planted and Apollos watered. Not just anywhere. Can I pray for you?